Hello my dears, before we jump into this video I just need to do a quick service announcement. Unfortunately my channel, along with many other knitting channels, has been targeted by scammers. I do not do giveaways. I don't plan to do any giveaways. I have done them in the past but I won't be doing any more in the future. So if you receive a reply to one of your comments from an account that looks like me or is parading as me, it often is with the word Telegram. I don't know what Telegram is. It is not me. It will look like me, it will have Penrose Knits in the name, usually with a double T or something like that to make it different. It will even have my profile picture. It is not me. Be careful out there. If somebody says you've won a prize and asks you to send money for that prize, it is not real. I unfortunately haven't got the time or the energy to go through and remove every single one of these comments. There are hundreds of them. They are across my previous podcasts, my Vlogmas episodes, they're everywhere, and I just don't have the manpower to go and report every single one. If you know a way that I can blanket remove those comments, then please let me know, but currently from what I can see, YouTube don't make it easy to remove these comments without having to go into every single one, click a million different things, and it's gone. So if you receive one of these replies to one of your comments, please report it. It is not me. I will never ask you for money. No one should ever be asking you for money for giveaway prizes. So hopefully no one has fallen for it. If you have sent people money via PayPal or credit card, you can often claim it back again. But yeah, just be careful. Do not trust it. It is not me. On with the episode. Hello and welcome to episode 25 of the Knitting Pickle Podcast. I'm going to have to do it. I'm going to have to check again. Hello and welcome to episode 25 of the Knitting Pickle Podcast. My name is Laura of Penrose Knits and this is a knitting podcast about knitting. You probably know that by now. If you have been here before, welcome back. If this is your first time watching me, welcome. I decided to podcast last minute today. Wasn't on my plan for this week, but I was just feeling in the mood, so I decided to do it. I am trying, not committing to, but trying to podcast a little bit more regularly than usual, just because what happens when I have a big gap between is I tend to then kind of feel a little bit overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that I need to go through, and I end up having a really long episode, which I don't mind watching a long episode, not so keen on editing a long episode. So I'm trying to be a little bit more frequent in my podcasting, just so we've not got huge amounts to go through every time. Saying that, there's a lot here on my bed. We are mainly whips today and some really interesting whips as well. So grab yourself a beverage. I have a kombucha today because I have reached my coffee quota for the morning and I really like kombucha. This one is a mango and passion fruit one. They're just delicious, they're just yummy. And apparently not a doctor. Good for your tummy. So let's crack on with the knitting. I'm going to get straight into it, and then if we've got some time at the end for some kind of live chat, I will do, but we've got a lot to cover knitting wise today, so here we go. I'm going to start out with one quick public service announcement, and that is that by the time this has gone live, the Sibling Sweater should have been released. It's crazy that in the last episode I was showing you the Sibling Sweater for the first time, and in the next episode it's released. I do not know what has come over me, but it is happening. I haven't got Penny's with me because she's wearing it today and she's with my mum, but I have got Jeff's, which is the 100% merino version. Penny's is merino and mohair. If you would like lots of information on this design, if it's the first time seeing it, then please go watch episode 24 as I go all into it, and I will talk a little bit more about the Sibling as a design later on, as you will see. But for now, the children's version is live on Ravelry and my website, and there is always a launch day discount. Goes live on Saturday. I will post this on Saturday, and the launch discounts tend to last a few days, so grab it while you can. This sweater design and process has just been so enjoyable. It's been so relaxed, it's been relatively stress-free, the editing process was good, the testing process has been lovely. Obviously things have come up, things have had to change, but it's been such an enjoyable process. Everyone has done such an amazing job. There are some stunning colour combinations out there. Go and check out the Sibling Sweater hashtag on Instagram if you want to see all my testers' lovely versions. But not going to bang on about it for too long, but there you go. The Sibling Sweater is now live. Thank you very much if you support my pattern. I really do appreciate it. If it's not your cup of tea and you don't want to part with your money yet, if you would mind clicking the link in the description box and visiting the Ravelry page, it really helps with getting that page seen on Ravelry. If we can get enough visits to the page and get it in that kind of top 20 hot right now list, it really does have an effect. So I'd really appreciate a click on the link, even if you're not interested in buying it. Thank you. What is this, the world we live in? How have we ended up here? How is it that this is the way selling a product works now? It's crazy. So there you go, there's your Sibling Sweater. I'm going to go straight into finished objects, of which I have one and a bit. It's technically finished. There's still a little bit to do on it, but I wanted to show you it at this phase because it's just quite interesting. But I will show you my fully finished item first, though it has not been washed or blocked. This has not been seen on YouTube. It has also been... I've not posted about it on Instagram yet, mainly because I haven't washed or blocked it or got a picture of Penny wearing it. But I did mention in the last episode that I wanted to make Penny an everyday balaclava by Petite Knit, and I did! Woohoo! I have made Penny a pair of mittens that I showed you in the last, well, kind of showed you in the last episode. I made them in my What I Knit in a Week video. I made her a pair of mittens in this yarn combination, which is a sock yarn by Biff Sugar Yarn, which is the variegated hand-dyed vibes, and one strand of Along avec Anna fingering weight merino to create a DK weight, and I had just about enough to make the balaclava to match. I wanted to make her a balaclava because at the time she was very much like, she didn't like the wind, so she would always wear a hat, but when she has to wear her helmet when she's on her scooter, she couldn't really wear a hat. So I thought, well, if I make a balaclava, it should be a thin enough layer to keep her warm but still have her helmet on the top. Since then we have reached a phase where she will finally let me do her hair, and she wants me to put pigtails in every day, and she likes them like right up here on the top of her head. So hats and balaclavas are kind of out the picture at the moment. So I don't know when she is actually going to wear this next. She has tried it on and it fits her nicely, and there's a bit of wiggle room, so hopefully it will still fit her come like winter time, though she'll be at school, so I don't know. She might never wear this, but it was so lovely to make. I made this in about a day and a half, probably spread over a few days, but total knitting time a day and a half. The construction is so fun. You start here and you work backwards, you pick up, you work down the body of the hat. It's mainly worked flat, so if you're not a fan of working flat, this might not be one for you, but we do have a little in the round section here. It's got a lovely split front and back, and then a folded face hole. What would you even call that? I don't know what they even call it in the pattern, but yeah, I'll give you a little close-up so you can see how lovely the yarn is. I've nearly woven all the ends in, but not quite. I've just got a few more to do. I basically finished this just before we went on holiday and haven't picked it up till now. The other thing I just wanted to show you, because I thought it was quite interesting, is how my ribbing worked flat looks. I've kind of rode out, but not quite rode out. It's very strange. I'll just show you quickly so you can see what I'm talking about. So what has happened is, for each knit stitch I have, it's like one leg is really small and one leg is big, and it alternates between rows. So obviously one side is knit, one side is purl. So it's not like it's rowing out, because it's not like my knit side is like one side and my purl side is another side. It's the same problem on both sides. And it's very, very strange. I've never seen it before. I've worked ribbing flat many, many times, not had this problem. So I've got a feeling it's because I'm holding two yarns held together, and it's almost like the two strands are kind of separate on one side and together on the other side of the stitch. It's very, very strange and hard to explain. I'm sure it'll like come out with blocking, and overall, you know, I don't really mind. It looks quite nice. It's kind of got like a textury vibe to it, but it's just something I've never encountered before and it's never happened to me. So I'd be interested to know if anybody else has found this, and I will let you know what happens when I block it. I think it's going to stay like this, but we'll see. I'm sure Penny won't mind either. So that's my everyday balaclava for my sweet little daughter Pip. Next up we have another thing that's for Penny, which is technically finished, and it was a whip in the last episode. Oh, I've forgotten how soft it was. And again, finished this just before I went on holiday and haven't picked it up again since, because I've been well and truly sucked into a knitting hole for something else, which I will show you. But here we have, oh, petite knit again. I promise this isn't going to be all petite knit. We have the Monday Sweater Junior by Petite Knit in this absolutely gorgeous hand-dyed speckled Surrey alpaca held with a strand of fingering weight unknown merino blend yarn. So I got this yarn from Etsy from Cheshire Yarns on an absolute impulse, was absolutely obsessed with it, ordered one skein, didn't think about it, didn't have enough, had to order a new skein. And in my last episode I was telling you about how we'd kind of got on the yoke it was all speckly, and then it kind of faded out and there was hardly any speckles towards the end of the skein. Because I'm very new to working with hand-dyed yarn, I wasn't sure if that was because I didn't alternate skeins or because the skein was more heavily dyed in one area of the skein than the other. And I've come to the conclusion that it was a bit of both. Now I have wound up and seen two more skeins of this yarn. They are both the same in that they've got one quite heavily speckled section and the other section is less speckled. And what I think has happened there is that when it's been speckled in the dyeing process, those speckles haven't quite reached the whole skein, almost like, you know how they're lying flat in a bath and you speckle on the top. It's almost like it either wasn't turned over or wasn't turned over enough, and there's just quite big areas of the skein that haven't reached the speckles. And when that is wound up, you end up with that white bit being at one end and the heavily speckled bit being at the other end, rather than it being kind of dispersed evenly. So to counteract that, when you're knitting, what you would do is alternate skeins or alternate ends of a skein. So you would do one row of your speckly bit, one row of your less speckly bit, all the way through the garment to get an even speckle. And this is like a totally normal thing for hand-dyed yarn, but I just kind of ignored the fact that you're supposed to alternate skeins and kind of just went for it, because for me, life is too short. But I would have saved myself quite a lot of work if I had just alternated skeins, or even alternated ends of one skein. In the first place, though, I do think alternating actual skeins was probably best, because you can also see quite a clear difference in my different skeins. And I'm going to go over this. So I'm going to show you the back of this first, because I haven't done anything to change the back of this sweater yet, and I didn't on purpose because I wanted to show you the difference between before and after. So this is the back, and you can see how we've got like a really nice beautiful speckle across the top. We're quite blown out, aren't we? So let's just turn it down a little bit. I'm dark now, but the jumper isn't quite so blown out. So we've got the nice speckly bit across the top, then we have this kind of band of not very much speckle in the middle, and then you can see where I've added my new skein that's very, very speckly, and also the speckles themselves are brighter than the ones up here. That's what it looks like without any kind of interaction. You can see my sleeves are also quite sparsely speckled because they're this part of the skein as well, and I don't really mind that so much, but you know, this, even though there's technically nothing wrong with it and I think it's got its own charm, you know, some people would be fine with that, I wasn't fine with that and it annoyed me a little bit. So I will now show you the front. Ooh. So you can still kind of see where we've got the new skein at the bottom that's a lot brighter in speckle compared to the top where they are a little bit more subdued, but you can see that there is no white band across the middle. We've still got a little bit here that needs to be sorted, but what I did was I duplicate stitched. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a close-up. I'm gonna put it down now because my arm's getting tired and I'm also like completely out of focus for all of that. So you can see where I duplicate stitched a little bit, just because obviously those stitches are thicker, but I also haven't washed this yet. I think it works really well. I think I'm really pleased with how it looks, and I do still need to do a little bit more duplicate stitch at the top. I think I need to introduce some of the bright at the bottom into the top. And I probably will put some brighter speckles through the sleeves as well. Not so intensely, but just to kind of make sure we've got a little bit more kind of continuity throughout. So I don't mind doing duplicate stitch. I really enjoy it. I find it satisfying. I thought I'd show you the inside as well so you can see what it looks like from the other side where I've done the duplicate. So you can kind of see where I've done like a little bit of duplicate stitch and then like weaved the white bit of the yarn up to another spot and then like woven in the speckly bit. And yeah, it was a process. Doing that front section was like an evening of my time basically. I've yet to decide whether I'm going to put the duplicate stitch on the back, whether I can be bothered or not. I kind of just want her to wear it now. But now I've got it out again, I've got that, oh, I want to get this finished. So when I've got a little break coming up in my next project, and when I'm on that little break from it, I will maybe go back to this because it's so gorgeous. And how perfect will this be for spring? It's getting warmer now. We're doing jumpers and leggings with a top underneath, and she can like run around in her jumper and not be cold, not be hot. So it's the perfect time for something like this. I did do one of the other modification to this, and I put in a little split hem, which is not in the pattern but is really, really simple. I just think it looks really, really cute, especially on something slightly oversized. I went for the age 3 to 4, but it is still a little bit slightly oversized on her, but not hugely. So yeah, a little bit obsessed with split hems at the moment, so that's the only other modification. So those are my finished objects. I'm not wearing any knitwear today because I haven't got anything newly finished. Also, I bought a new top with an epic cuff and I wanted to wear it. I've also got to like put things on, so I thought it's probably better to have something like thinner to put on to show you what we've got coming up. So, whip time. I am going to show you my sibling whips to start with. Get them done because they're kind of on hold at the moment, so I'm not going to go like too in-depth into them, but I just wanted to give you like a little update as to where we are. Last episode I showed you I had started my sibling sweater my size, so the adult one, and the little bit that I showed you I have actually ripped out because my proportions were not quite right, and I've worked it up again, the bit that I showed you last time. You're not going to be able to see any difference because I haven't got the old version to show you, but here is the new version of the adult sibling sweater. This is the back piece, not the front piece. And after I'd worked kind of this much of it, I realised that my proportions were off, and that was because I hadn't made any changes between this version and the kids version. The kids version, we have a 6-row stripe, and our little shoulder band here is 7 stitches wide, which proportionally works for a child-sized body. It's the kind of balance of stripe that I wanted, but as soon as I translated that to an adult size, we had a different look. Obviously the stripes look smaller on a larger body, and it was a different vibe. I like that the stripes have a slightly thicker look to them rather than like a thin stripe like this. I wanted them to look thicker, and that's why I went with 6 rows, because it's what looked right for this garment. Put it on an adult and they suddenly look thinner, and the shoulder guy, I didn't really know what this is called, this kind of shoulder detail, also looked way too small on the adult size body and kind of got lost, and it's one of the main features of this design, so I didn't want to lose it. So I ripped it all back I made my shoulder panel quite a bit thicker, quite a few stitches wider, so when it is on the body it stands out a lot more. Like you can see how much more that kind of angle is like noticeable. And I thickened the stripes, I think only by 2 rows, but I feel like it makes such a difference. They look intentionally thicker, it looks more balanced for this size. I might sound like an absolute lunatic talking about this. You might be like, Laura, what? They don't look any different, but I think they do. I think they do. So yeah, that's where we are with the Sibling Sweater my size. This is kind of on hold for a minute just because I kind of got like a little bit striped out and I am not in any rush with this. Something like, so I spoke about this more in my What I Knit in a Week video. My goal for 2023 is to knit less, is to calm the F down, stop trying to produce a million patterns at once and just follow what my heart is saying. And so far that's really working out because the Sibling Sweater has been released, the child's one, and that's incredible. I loved working on every minute of that pattern, and that's because I followed what I wanted to do, and that's what I'm doing with my next design, which you'll see in a minute. And that's okay. Like, it would be great to have this done and released, you know, within a couple of weeks of the kids one, but will I enjoy myself doing it? No, I won't. So I'm putting my head first, putting myself first. I also got a lot of inspiration from my friend Sophie of the Knit Pearl Girl. She has just released the Farnham sweater, which I will pop a little picture of in here because it's incredible and it's stripy, and I don't know if you can tell, but 2023 is the year of stripes. I'm telling you that now, whether they are vertical colour horizontal colourful stripes, or vertical rib stripes, or vertical garter stripes. It's just, that's the year for me. 2022 was the year of ruffles. Though it's still kind of a little bit ruffly. 2023 is the year of stripes and ribs. Calling it now. So yeah, the Farnham sweater, she started that about a year ago and did quite a lot of work on it and then put it down for a while and then came back to it when it felt right. She's just released it to great success. I'm so proud of her and happy for her. And it was just quite inspiring to be like, you can do things that way. Just because you start something and show it and people like it doesn't mean you have to rush it out. You can just let it sit. It's the same with her crescendo summer top. That went through testing last year, but she didn't release it because it didn't feel right, and she's come back to it this year. She's reworked it. It's going to get released for this summer, and that's fine because yes, it could have been released last year, but at what cost? Like, the stress that she would have had to have gone through to get it out is not worth it. You know, I'm very, very lucky that this kind of part of my life, I can, you know, yes, it's a business and I want it to be profitable and I want to make money, but I'm in a position where I can make decisions like this to make it sustainable. I know that if I keep trying to force the patterns out, Penrose Knits isn't going to be a thing in a couple of months' time. So if I just rein it in a little bit, follow what feels right, then Penrose Knits will hopefully last a very, very long time. So you will be seeing this again in the future. I don't know exactly when, but in the meantime, I do have another sibling design to show you, which is really, really exciting because it's quite different. In my last video, I asked you what I should take on holiday with me, and I couldn't decide. And 2 days before, one of you lovely people left a comment saying summer sibling or something like that, or like a sibling t-shirt. And I was like, oh, why did I not think of this? So I can't find the comment now. I can't remember who left it, but whoever left the comment suggesting a summer sibling, first of all, thank you. As and when this pattern comes to be released, send me a message and I'll send you a copy. So yes, I have started the summer sibling. So literally 2 days before I went on holiday, I messaged Simona from knit.co.uk and said, are you posting tomorrow? I really want to have this yarn to take on holiday with me. And she was incredible and got this yarn sent out to me ASAP, and it arrived the day before we left for holiday. I'm going to start by showing you the yarn, and I'll show you the swatch, and then I'll show you what I've got to so far. So the yarn is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. I have never used this before. I've never made a pure silk garment before, and it's been a little bit up and down so far. to be honest. I chose the colours Powder and Lamb's Ears because I wanted a contrast, but I wanted a low contrast. Like, I'm going summery, I'm going light, I'm going subtle, and I just chose these off the website and just hoped for the best, and I'm really pleased because I really like the combination. We've got that kind of beigey neutral, and the Lamb's Ear is kind of like a grey green. They're coming across on camera quite well, actually. They're coming across quite true. If anything, they're a little bit darker than they're coming up on camera, but they're pretty close. So I ordered some of this and I swatched for it straight away. Here is my swatch. So you can see there is a high enough contrast to see that it's stripes, but it's not like high contrast. They're in the same kind of tonal family. It's subtle, it's nice. And again, I went for the 8-row stripe here. And then when I was on holiday, I cast on and have worked quite a lot of it, but then I hit a bit of a stall on it, and I've yet to decide how I feel about this, and I'm really hoping I can get lots of opinions from you guys about it. So here we are. Here is the summer sibling. So let's show you the back first. This is the back. You can see the signature kind of shoulder panel here. I'm slightly kind of like, have I gone too thick here? But it's kind of hard to see IRL. It looks different on the body. Yeah, it looks more in proportion. So this is the back piece, as you can see, and here we have the front. I worked this neckline twice and I'm still not sure about it. I decided to go with a folded, what's it called? Neckband? It's probably better I show you from the back. I just wanted it to look like t-shirty and kind of quite refined, and I just love that finish on a summer garment. I think it makes it feel really kind of like, oh no, I've pulled my thing out, pulled my stitch holder out. No, I'm not saving that now, am I? I've got a feeling I'll be ripping this out anyway. So yes, I went for the folded collar, and I really like it. There's no reason why you couldn't do a ribbed one if you prefer. It's really simple. It's just stockinette and then a purl row and then stockinette again, and then I knit it down and cast it off as I go, but you can also sew it down. So the problem I have with this, and the thing I can't decide on, is the neckline. I'm going to pop it on to kind of show you what I mean. I don't know what that little song was. So I was going for a wider neckline because it's summer, we want like a bit more breathing space. I don't want anything kind of too close up here, but I've got a feeling I have gone too wide. I also feel it is a little bit kind of, I don't know, I think it's a little bit oval rather than round. And what I mean is, first of all, I feel like we're slightly too wide, but you can see my shaping here, and then we've got quite a long expanse here. So what tends to happen when wearing it is, instead of it being like your kind of round neckline, I got interrupted by the postman. I'm losing so many stitches with this, never mind. So the potential problem I have with the neckline that I have here in this sample, bearing in mind I have graded this already, is that, yeah, it kind of looks all right now, but when you're actually wearing it, the thing I'm worried about happening is this bit ends up kind of riding up and looking very kind of straight, and it just not, I don't know, this is the thing. I'm like looking at it now, I'm like, it's fine. What am I worried about? It's absolutely fine. The other thing I need to think about the fact is that I haven't knit the front yet, and once it's joined at the underarm, then we are going to get naturally a little bit more pulling down here, which is going to counteract any kind of straightness we have here. Once I add the sleeves though, we might going to get a little bit more pulling that way, which might add to it. So I'm basically here thinking out loud because I know what I've got to do. I've got to finish the front and see what happens. I have blocked this. I'm very, very glad I blocked it. One, because you get a truer look. Secondly, because I was a little bit worried about my yarn choice. I think I'd heard this, that when you're knitting with the pure silk, at first you're like, oh, don't know about this, but then when you block it, it's like, and honestly, it's so nice. It's so soft, it's so thin, it's so drapey, it's so light. I'm not the biggest fan of cotton. Even like fingering weight cotton, it still always feels heavy and thick to me and not something I want to put on my body in the summer. But this is like next level. I've also knit it at a slightly looser gauge. It is fingering weight, but I'm using 3.5 or 3.75, 3.5 millimeter needles. So the gauge is slightly looser. It's not like a tight fingering weight. So the other thing that I can do, as well as obviously knitting the front and seeing how it actually sits on my body when my arms are in the mix, is I can also put a little bit of elastic, because we've got a folded neckline. That will also kind of help bring it in a little bit. And if you've got a circle of elastic, its natural state is going to want to be a circle. So that will also help with that shape. So seeing it now, I'm starting to think, yeah, I think I should probably just crack on with it. My other option is to just start again and create a smaller neckline. The other thing I've got to contend with is kind of making sure that my shaping ends within a contrast stripe, so that I have that contrast between the dark and the light. I kind of don't want directly under the neckband to be the same colour as the neckband, because then it will kind of get like a little bit lost. Also, you end up with the stripes kind of looking quite slanted, because they kind of get pulled in by the neckline. It's something that's kind of slightly unavoidable with something stripy with a neckline like this. It's fine. So now I'm seeing it like this, I'm thinking, Laura, just carry on, trust yourself, and it'll be all right. And if I have to make a little bit of a tweak to it when I'm writing the pattern, re the shaping of the neckline, and have another sample made, so be it. But yeah, there we go. There's your summer sibling in the works. I feel like it would be a really nice, beautiful kind of summer staple. So, oh gosh, yeah, I'm just like pulling stitches out willy-nilly. I ran out of stitch holders and just basically pulled one out because I was annoyed with it at the time. I was like, this is gonna get ripped out, I might as well just like, wow. But now I'm like, yeah, that's gonna be fun to pick those stitches back up. I'm also struggling to pick that back up again because it's cold. It was easy to work on that when I was in Tenerife and it was 20 degrees. But here it's a bit like, yeah, I'd rather work on something woolly and cozy, like the thing I'm about to show you. In a minute, I'm going to show you one more little whip before I move on, because it was my other holiday whip. I took my sibling sweater my size with me on holiday, but it didn't work on it at all. And I mainly worked on my summer sibling on holiday, but on the way back again, because I'd reached the point where I knew I needed to block it, put it away, and I cast on a little sock. I just wanted something really simple and tiny to take with me on the way back. I had no problems whatsoever in the airport, by the way. On the way out, I did wooden needles and I hid them in my children's pencil cases and they were fine, no problems. On the way back, I did a metal circular needle and again, no problems whatsoever. I don't think people are that bothered. I think when airlines think knitting needles, they think big, long, metal, spiky sticks, which, yes, probably shouldn't be on an airplane. I don't think the people who make these rules know that much about knitting needles, so it's kind of expected. But yeah, I had absolutely no problems. No one on the plane asked me to put them away or anything. So I cast on a sock on my last night on holiday to work with on the way back, and I'm really glad I did because it's been quite fun. And here we go. Look at this. We have a bit of a sock. I am using Truly Yarns sock yarn in Winter Stroll. I originally bought this for my twists and turns shawl, which I decided not to finish, and I thought, well, it's beautiful, I really like it, I really like the feeling of superwash merino socks, so I might as well get it out of stash and use it. And I did also have a tiny little bit of this pink. You can see this kind of pink stripe here. This is the pink Biff Sugar yarn that I used in Penny's balaclava and gloves. I had the tiniest little bit left, so I just wound it into 2 balls, and I thought I'll do a little bit of like an athletic sock stripe, super low contrast, but it uses the yarn. And then I'm going to use it for the toe as well, and if I don't have enough for the toe, then the toe will be 2 different colours, and I don't really mind about that. I did a short, no I didn't do a short heel, I did a flap and gusset heel, all of which I did on my teeny weeny circular. I'd never done that before, but it was really easy. I did a slip stitch heel flap, which I think looks so beautiful, and then yeah, just your normal kind of flap and gusset. I'm still on the gusset. There is no pattern to this. This is just the sock in my head. I did 64 stitches on 2.5mm needles. Can you tell I'm not really a sock knitter? 2.25 for the cuff, 2.5 for the leg, and I find with socks I prefer a looser leg and tighter cuff, which is one of the reasons I chose to do a flap and gusset. One, because it's really easy to work on these little needles and I didn't want to have to change needles in the middle of my flight, but also because you've got that decrease down the side. For the gusset, I will decrease my foot down to 60 stitches instead of 64, just to get that slight bit more tightness on the foot but not on the leg. So these are very much my kind of as and when project now. I feel very much like Jonathan Days with my jumper whip and my sock whip, but it works. I get it, it's good. I took these when I got my haircut the other day, if you hadn't noticed. Had a bit of a cut, had a bit of a colour refresh, definitely needs washing, but yeah, I decided to just go for it and chop all that kind of wispy long ends off, and I'm so glad I did, because I feel like, it's weird, I feel like myself and I feel like a new person at the same time. Maybe that's why I'm making bold fashion choices like this now, because I feel like I've got, my new hair, new style, who knows. So yeah, I took these with me when I had my hair done, like perfect, just a little bit of like knitting. I've taken them with me in the car, and I kind of want to do a little bit of work on them now. I have absolutely no kind of deadline for these. I do have another sock whip at the moment, but it's quite an intense stripy sock. I showed you this last week. This is with my Woolly Mammoth Fibres Advent, and I'll be working on this again, but because of like all the stripes and the colour changes and stuff, it's less portable. So this will just be like a little at-home project. I'll make the second one of those at some point, but this is just such a nice kind of like pick up, put down project, isn't it? Woo-hoo-hoo. So yeah, that's my little sock whip at the moment. Right, on to the main event. This next whip has been my obsession for the past week. Just over a week. I cast it on when I got home from holiday. Now, this idea came to me in a dream, almost. It came to me while I was in bed trying to fall asleep on holiday. During the end of my holiday, I was starting to get quite a bit kind of like socially worn out, having very little time on my own, and what that meant was when it came to going to bed in the evenings, I find myself still awake at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, just enjoying the silence and no one asking me questions. And in that time, I would kind of like muck about on my phone a little bit, or just lie in bed. And I had this idea for a garment, and I basically just lay there in bed for an hour, constructing it in my head, thinking about different ways to do the different things I wanted to do. And I was just like, oh, this needs to happen. And at the same time, I got on my phone and ordered yarn for it so that it would be there when I got home, and it was there waiting for me when I got back. So I cast it on almost straight away. And I'm very, very happy to say that my dreamt up idea has worked. And I'm going to show you now. Here it is. Isn't it exciting? Right. Do you know what? I noticed this the other day when I was editing. I go all the time. I didn't even realise I was doing it. So now when I do it, I'm really, really aware of me going So yeah, I'm going to try and not do that so much because it annoys me. I don't care if it annoys you, but it annoys me when I'm editing. I just wanted to do it again. Woo! So I am I'm about halfway through the second sleeve actually. So I'm gonna pop it on. This probably wasn't the best thing to wear for trying things on, was it? But we can make it work. We can make it work. So what we have here is a garter stitch cardigan. It's cardigan time. It's nearly spring. Oh yeah. Here we go. Now obviously this doesn't really tell you very much, does it? So I will stand up, give you a little bit of a close up. Who do I think I am? May I formally introduce you to the Midland cardigan by me in woolly mammoth fibres, half DK, which is this. This is all I have left. I didn't order enough. I'm just waiting to find out if she has more of this dye lot. If Emma has more of this dye lot, but either way, the bit that I've got left to do is just the button band and the rib at the bottom, so it doesn't matter if it's a slightly different dye lot. Half DK, which is absolutely stunning. I have a full skein of it in a different colour, but I have it here so I can tell you the details. So the half DK is 50% Jacob, 50% BFL, 100% wool, sourced, spun and made in the UK. And that is why I decided to call this the Midland cardigan, because I am from the Midlands and I thought, well, the yarn is all about British origin, so let's honour that in the name of the jumper or the cardigan as well. So I went with the Midland cardigan, and there's something very special about this cardigan. I don't know if you can tell from this, but it is worked sideways. That's right. This is what my little brain was like obsessing over in bed on a holiday. How can this be done? How can we make it side to side? I wanted to do a garter stitch garment, but I wanted to do something just like a little bit different. So I'm so excited to say that this worked. The construction of this was an absolute pleasure to work and an absolute pleasure to work out. It was such a brain exercise, but in a really satisfying way, and fortunately it's worked out well. So you start at the side seam. Now the instructions that I've written come in two versions. A version where you have to do zero seaming and a version where you do seaming if you want to. So we start by casting on here in a special way, and then you work back and forth over the shoulder. And in the seamless version there's a special cast on method, so you don't have to seam afterwards. If you do the seaming method, you just cast on normally and you'll have like one big long piece of fabric which you then sew together here when you're done. But with the seamless method you'll just have a little armhole here, and then you pick up and add your sleeve afterwards. And you go, it's going to be so hard to explain. I'm just going to tip my camera down a little bit so you can still see my mouth moving, but I can show you what I'm talking about. So if you start here, we have got short row shaping to create the drop shoulder kind of cap here. The reason I wanted to do that was because I didn't want it to be too bulky here in the waist, so you can see it comes in at an angle. So we've got the lovely drop shoulder vibe, but we've not got masses of fabric underneath here. It's a little bit more fitted at the waist. This extra wedge of fabric here, which you would sometimes put into the sleeve, gives a little bit more space, which helps the shoulder of the cardigan not fall off. One of the problems with a drop shoulder cardigan is that they can be a little bit difficult to keep on the shoulders. So by having this extra kind of wedge in here, which you could put either in the sleeve of a normal drop shoulder garment or in this case in the body of it, just helps with this bit here where it sits. We have a faux seam that runs all the way along the shoulder and down the arm. That is just to give a little bit of strength to the garment, because obviously the weight of the garment is coming from the shoulder. Garter stitch is very stretchy in both directions, so I just wanted a little bit of stability here, and I think it's a really nice kind of design feature really. And then we have, as you can probably see, some shoulder shaping. So once we've worked this section here, we're then working across and we are shaping the shoulder as we go, just to raise the neck a little bit at the back, again to kind of help with that falling offness, and just so it sits nicely. You can really see how it goes out and then it goes back up here again, and that's to do with the shoulder shaping. You then work the front section, which is done with short rows. You then work the back section until you get here, and then you cast on, and then you work this side using short rows, and then you continue down this way, basically doing the opposite on this side as you did on this side. Or is it the other way around? Can't remember, doesn't really matter. So that is how we're constructed. You then pick up your stitches for the sleeve, continue the little guy. We do have some shaping in the sleeve, very subtle, because the sleeve isn't massively oversized anyway. I didn't want it to be too bulky in the sleeve. It's strange because after doing quite a lot of positive ease garments, going for something with kind of neutral to positive has been quite a different experience. So yeah, I just decided to take a little bit of bulk out of the sleeve here. Then we have a 1x1 ribbed cuff. I've got another sleeve to go, and then I'll be working the button band. I need to add the rib to the bottom still, and then I will add the button band. Now, the button band. It's going to be a double knit button band. I tried to convince myself not to do it so many times, but I just feel like the best way to really show off this kind of sideways garter texture is for the button band to not detract from that at all. And so I think a smooth, double knit, kind of modern, fresh look is what this cardigan deserves. Double knit button bands are, it's going to be a process, it's going to be difficult to get it right. For me, when it comes to like writing it and grading it and getting the right needle sizes and stuff, it will be easier to do for the knitter because I would have figured out all the difficult stuff. But even then, it's all a matter of tension. You've basically got to match the tension of your button band with the tension of your garment. Now normally a garment would be worked top down or bottom up, so you're matching the row gauge of your button band to the row gauge of your jumper, of your cardigan. But because this is worked sideways, I've got to match the row gauge of my button band to my stitch gauge, because obviously here we've got a cast on edge. So it's going to be interesting, it's going to be fun. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to the brain workout, and it will be worth it. I also have two very good friends who have both designed cardigans with a double knit button band, so I'm basically just gonna copy everything they did with their permission. So there will also be instructions in the pattern for a normal ribbed button band for those of you who don't want to do a double knit button band. I try and make my patterns as kind of customizable as possible, like cover, it's tricky because staying true to your design aesthetic is one thing, but I also love when people kind of, you know, put their own spin on a knitwear pattern. That's kind of where designing started for me, taking other patterns and kind of adjusting and changing and modifying, and well, what happens when I do this? What happens when I do that? So I want to encourage people to do that even with my own patterns. So for me, the most obvious option for these is a double knit or a normal button band. I know people are going to want to do that, so if I can guide them with how to do that properly, then I'm going to do that. And it's the same with the knitting it seamed or knitting it flat. It has meant more work for me overall, especially with the sleeves. Like working the body seamed and unseamed isn't that different, but the sleeves, I have written the instructions to be in the round and flat and then seamed. And I'm really surprised at how different they are. Even the cuff has completely different instructions for in the round versus working back and forth flat all the way down and then seaming it up at the end. And it's just, yeah, really, really interesting. I work my sleeve in the round, and I'm doing this one in the round as well so that they match. However, I'm working on something else and I'm going to do the seamed version just to make sure everything is hunky-dory. So there you go, that's my Midland cardigan. I'm going to keep it on because I'm a little bit chilly actually, and it's keeping me nice and toasty even though we're not finished. So while we're on the subject, I showed you this one. So yes, there is a version 2 in the making. This is quite cool actually, because this is how the Midland cardigan starts. Yes, I'm doing the child's version at the same time. I have recently changed my design process from before, where I would knit the whole sample, make notes, then write and grade. Now I write, grade and knit at the same time. It's riskier overall because if a design doesn't work out, I've spent more time writing and grading than if I had just been working on the sample, realised it didn't work, scrapped it. but what it does mean is I don't stall within the process. Quite often I would make a sample, write the notes, and then leave it, and then coming to write it up is so much harder. Like reading your own notes is like reading a foreign language sometimes, and quite often I found when grading something I then had to go back and make changes so my sample wouldn't match my actual pattern. Quite often when you're grading something will be fine for the smaller sizes but not fine for the larger sizes, so quite often you make changes to accommodate the larger sizes that affect the entire garment. So I like the smaller sizes to match that too, so things do kind of change and morph, and making sure what you're doing with your garment works across all the sizes really has an effect on the garment a lot of the time, especially when it comes to things like yokes and sleeve lengths and stuff. So I'm much preferring this process of grading and writing as I go, and in this case working on two of the same thing at the same time. Obviously the children's grading is different from the adult grading, but it's all kind of based within the same thing. What I found helpful here is I have obviously written, graded and kind of tested it in this sample. Now going back and working this from effectively the same pattern, I'm kind of testing my pattern again and reading something that I wrote, you know, a couple of days ago or even like a week ago or whatever, and at the time it makes absolute sense to me, but going back to it I'm like double check my work, and I have changed things in my own writing because I'm like, that's not very clear. What did I mean by that? What did I do there? So it's kind of like knitting two samples at a time, but obviously this one is a lot smaller, so it's a lot quicker. Is kind of a new helpful way to kind of make my design process a lot more time effective overall. So yeah, this is really interesting. You can see here what it looks like when you start. So this is obviously the non-seamed version. So we're casting on here and we're working blub, 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 blub. Here's my little armhole. You can see this is, there you go. So this is where the shoulder short row shaping starts and ends. Now I'm doing my shoulder increases, and I'm nearly there actually. I'm nearly at this point, but in the child's garment, and then I'll be working the neck, etc. So yeah, it's so strange when you're working on it. It really is a different experience, and I personally am absolutely loving it. It's so refreshing to do something different. Like I love a top down, like working on the Monday sweater, just raglan, stockinette, top down. Like it's so nice, so satisfying, but sometimes it's really nice to really push your kind of brain capacity. So yeah, I will do these sleeves flat just to double check my working for the flat one. As far as testing and releasing, I don't know. Obviously the kids' sweater won't take as long to test as this one. My plan is to release the child and adult at the same time. I think it would be beneficial to run the tests at the same time, because like even though like the numbers and the grading are obviously completely different across the patterns, a lot of the copy will be the same, the way things are explained. So it may be that something comes up in the kids test that will apply to the adult one as well. So I think it would make sense to run them at the same time. Obviously the children's one won't take as long as the adult one, so I'll probably start the adult one first and then start the kids one a week or two later. But yeah, I think it would be good to release them at the same time. I'm rolling with this. This is my main focus at the moment. As soon as I finish this sample, then it will be off to the editor. And yeah, I'd like to get this released in spring. It's the beginning of March now. Realistically, I could have it done by the end of April, early May release, which might be a little bit late in the season for a 100% wool cardigan, but I wear cardigans all around the summer. So yeah, I'm also trying to not be so obsessed about seasonality at the moment and just go with what works for me. So there you go. That's all my whips and all my current projects. I do have a few little acquisitions to share with you. Nothing major, but some really fun things. I stumbled across a local yarn shop the other day. When I went to get my haircut, I stopped off in the local town to pick up some bits for dinner, and opposite the supermarket was a yarn shop. It's like yarn shop, haberdashery, that kind of thing. It was mainly your kind of standard bonus Hayfield, DK, King Cole, Serdar, that kind of thing. But they did have a whole wall of West Yorkshire spinners. I was looking for an alternative to this guy because this is quite this, you know, this is obviously a handmade, hand-dyed yarn, so it is higher on the price scale and also not as readily available. It kind of depends on the shop updates and what's available and stuff. Emma does ship internationally, but obviously it just depends on what she's got in stock at the time. So I wanted to find an alternative that was a little bit more easily accessible, readily available, and slightly lower on the price range. And I came across this guy. So I bought the West Yorkshire Spinners fleece, 100% British wool, Blueface Leicester. Now this is 50% Blueface Leicester, so I thought, well, they're going to have at least 50% similar properties. Feeling it, it's got the same kind of squish and bounce. What I love about this yarn is just how poofy it is. And when I received it, I said to Emma, is this woolen spun? It's so bouncy and lofty and airy. I was like, this must be woolen spun. But it's not, it's worsted spun. But this kind of like airy, just squishiness is what makes this yarn so beautiful, in my opinion. And I'm hoping we'll get the same vibe from this. I think this one is slightly thinner, 225, 240. Also, this one's actually slightly thicker, but that's okay because it's kind of more tightly spun. I'm using 4.5mm needles with this, and it's a DK, and you'd normally recommend 3.5 to 4. So my gauge is quite loose, so I need something that can, like, I need a DK that can handle a 4.5mm needle, and I'm hoping that this will work for that. You could also, I think, probably use a worsted weight yarn for this design because it's in that kind of middle ground between DK and Aran. You could also use a light DK in a strand of mohair or Surrey or something. That would be nice. But yes, I bought this guy. I wanted, because I went in, I was having a look about, I was like, oh yeah, I definitely want to buy something because it's like local yarn shop. But this, I also very much have a need for this, and with this version of it, I'm going to make one for my son, and I'm probably going to make him a sweater version. I would like to do, originally this was going to be a sweater, but as I was working it up, I just kept thinking, this needs to be a cardigan, this needs to be a cardigan. And for the sweater version, I don't know if it will be a v-neck sweater or a round neck sweater. I'm not too sure. I might do both, who knows. But I can just imagine my son in like a round neck sweater of this. I don't know how I'd feel about my son in a v-neck. I don't know. Also, like, knitting this 3 times is probably not going to be the one for me. Adding in a new neckline will be like a new challenge for me, and that'll be nice. So that's what this will be for. It's such a beautiful colour. I don't know if it's got a, yes, it's the colour Forest 1039. It's ever so soft and smooth. It's beautiful. Really, really nice. And I think this was just over £10 a skein, and it's 225 metres for 100 yards. So for 100 yards for 100 grams. So there you go, that was my yarny acquisition for the week. And then I have one other thing that arrived today and I haven't even looked at yet. I've wanted this book for ages, and now that my sock mojo is coming back, I knew that I just wanted to own this book. And this is the Charming Colourwork Socks by Charlotte Stone of Stone Knits. I've been following Stone Knits for a long time, and her work is just incredible. I've come to the realisation that I don't think I like the feel of colourwork socks on my feet. This is purely a sensory thing. Because I have sensory processing syndrome, I'm very, very picky about certain feels and textures and things, and I have colourwork sock designs that I've made and released myself, but I don't wear them, and that's because I think of the feel of them on my feet. However, I absolutely love making colourwork socks. They're so enjoyable, and I just think these would make some of the most wonderful gifts for people, and the kind of gift knitting that I would be really, really drawn to. I'm just going to have a little flick through and pick some out. It's definitely the flowery ones that I'm drawn to the most. Like, I can just imagine making a pair of these flowery socks, like for my mum, for my sister, for my mother-in-law. It would, oh my god, look at these ones, like stripy with cherries. How fun. I'm sure there's a strawberry one. She's definitely done a strawberry design somewhere. Oh, these ones have little coffee cups. I'm trying not to show you any of the print. Like, look at these. how cute, little coffee cups. Like I'd make those for my dad. And oh, ice creams. Now these, I would make these for my sister. So many beautiful ideas and just clever little designs. And I've, oh, did you hear that? Summer meadow. Look at those. Perfect for like that one skein of like hand-dyed variegated yarn you've got that you want to show off, but you want something a bit more interesting. Oh man, they're amazing. Oh man, this chickens! Oh my god! Look at these! They've got chickens on here and the toe is like an egg. So brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Oh my god, yeah, no, I'm obsessed. I've got quite a big sock yarn stash that I need to work through, so I think I'm going to have a third pair of socks cast on not in the not too distant future. So there we go. That is everything that I've worked on or have bought in the past few weeks. So let's do a little bit of lively chat. I've not got huge amounts to catch you up on at the moment. Obviously the main thing that's happened in the past few weeks is we went on holiday. I'll pop in a little, I made some reels, so I'll pop one in there to kind of like show you roughly what we got up to. We stayed in a beautiful hotel, kind of like a hotel, but it was like villas within the hotel, so you had like your own space and kitchen, and we had our own pool, but you still got like the breakfast buffet and you still had the turn down service. Oh my gosh, when the kids realised every night there was a chocolate on their pillow, they were just so excited. They go around to every single bed in the villa, because we went with my mother and father-in-law as well, so there were 6 of us collecting up the little chocolates and like putting them in the bowl, and they just absolutely loved it. So yeah, the place was absolutely beautiful. We went to Tenerife. We stayed in Adeki, which isn't like right on the coast, it's on the south side of the island, it's not right on the edge, it's a little bit further back in, so away from all the kind of big hustle and bustle, which was good for me, but you could still get down there in a short taxi ride kind of thing. And yeah, the hotel was absolutely beautiful. I've never done like a winter sun holiday ever. I don't think I'd ever think to. It was my in-laws idea, and it was really nice to just have like a little bit of sunshine, but it wasn't too hot. It was no more than 20-21 degrees, and the days were quite cloudy. It's really strange in Tenerife because it's like a volcanic island. You have like, it was really sunny in the morning, cloudy midday, and then sunny again in the evening. So perfect. And the main reason we decided to stay where we stayed was because of the pool that we had. There was like one big main pool, but also each villa has their own pool, and we asked for a villa that had like quite a sizable, some of them had like plunge pools. This was like a proper size, well, small pool, because the kids have never learnt to swim. Well, they haven't learnt to swim yet. We've taken them swimming, but my son was quite anti-swimming lessons for quite a while. He didn't really like the idea of it. When we did take him swimming, he'd be like, he'd enjoy it, but he wouldn't want to like be released from me or my husband. So we didn't want to force him or pushing. So we thought by taking him on a holiday where he has access to a pool as and when he wants to, like it's easy for him to get in and out, we don't have to pack everything up and go there, we're not limited to a time, just kind of release all pressure from it. He absolutely loved it. Like within hours, like first time in the pool, he was going up and down with his little floaties on, and he just got so confident so quick. And my daughter was the same. Obviously she's nearly 2 years younger, but she was just like up and down, absolutely loving it. She would get tired sooner and then go off and have a little, like, she'd cuddle up in a towel and watch her iPad for a little while or have a nap. And me and Jeff would just be in that pool for so long. It was fantastic. It was exactly what we wanted of it. So now we're going to book in proper swimming lessons and we can kind of get that done. Because I was getting a little bit worried. I didn't want him to grow up being a kid who didn't know how to swim. I love swimming, but particularly loved it as a child. Like my grandma taught me to swim, she taught me to dive. It's something we did all the time. So I'm glad that we are now kind of entering that phase, and he'll be having after school swimming lessons. So it was exactly what we wanted, and it was brilliant. It was so nice to spend some real quality time. It was the most kind of one-on-one screen-free time I've had with the kids like ever. It was fantastic. So yeah, that was the kind of main thing we've been up to in the past couple of weeks. I was ready to come home afterwards. As I mentioned before, I was kind of socially drained by the end of it, and it's taken me about a week or two to kind of level out again and kind of get back to my normal kind of mood. But I'm there now, and I'm kind of looking forward to cracking on with some designs. Moving forward, what have we got coming up in the next few weeks? I'm going to be focusing on this for the next few weeks and on the child's one and getting them done. And then after that, I think I'm going to have a little bit of a design break. It is at the beginning of March. We've already had 2 pattern releases this year and another one shortly. And I think I'm just going to quietly work on things in the background. Maybe the summer t-shirt. That might not be this year, that might be next year, in all honesty, I don't know. But I'm just going to take a little bit of a slow down on the designing thing, because I did say I wanted to knit less this year, and so far I've done the absolute opposite, and I'm churning out patterns and I can't stop myself. And like, even on the way home today, I had an idea for a pattern slightly inspired by this. Like, can you imagine? Knitted. So yeah, I'm just going to try and take a little bit of a step back. Towards the end of the month, my husband is going away for a week, and I'm going to say this here now to make myself accountable. I want to decorate my bedroom whilst he's away. Our bedrooms, my bedroom and the kids' bedroom, have not been touched since the renovation. We obviously had new windows put in, had new flooring put in, carpet in the kids' room, wood floor in our room, and they've both had like a lick of paint. They've had like a once over with like white paint, because they both had plaster in because of the windows. But other than that, there's been nothing, and they're just full of our old furniture. There's absolutely no love in there. It's not like this room, which has been top to bottom decorated with the beautiful colour and soft furnishings and decor, and like, this is our guest bedroom, and it's the most nicely decorated room in the house. I did the whole thing. But our bedroom is just so like unloved, as is the kids' room. So I thought it's all ready to go. It just needs to be painted and kind of like done, decorated. We don't need a new bed. We only need one new piece of furniture. Like, it can be done. I've just not found the time for it. So I'm making myself accountable, and I'm saying it here. The week that he is away, my main project is going to be that bedroom. I struggle when my husband's away. I really struggle in the evenings. I get lonely. I really struggle to fall asleep because I'm on my own in my bed. So I thought, if I have this big project, something I can do in the evenings, and then I'll be absolutely knackered, so hopefully I'll sleep better. I think that will be good. So that's probably what's going to be coming up in the next few weeks. Content wise, I would like to film another What I Knit in a Week video. Because the Sibling Sweater is being released, this week would be a good week to do a What I Knit in a Week. Maybe I'll just carry on filming after this. I guess you'll see in a couple of days' time. But yes, I will be doing another What I Knit in a Week video. Thank you for the response to that video. You guys really enjoyed it. It's gone down really well. It's like quite highly viewed, which I was really surprised about. So thank you for all the love on that video. We'll be doing it again. I think the time has passed for a What I Made in 2022 video. It's now March. Like, I just don't think it's going to happen. I haven't got it in me. I don't want to do it. It's probably not going to happen. But that's good, because it's a pressure off, and I can do lots of podcasts, lots of other little videos. I'll probably do a vlog at some point soon, just like a day or a weekend or something. But yeah, you should be seeing quite a lot coming up from me soon, mainly the Sibling Sweater release. So just to remind you one more time, if you're still here at the end of this video, get yourself a copy of the Sibling Sweater whilst you still can, whilst it's discounted. Thank you in advance. And I think with that, it's probably time to round it up. My battery is flashing, so the universe is telling me to stop. So thank you for joining me yet again for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week. Thank you so much, and bye-bye.